Today I'm going to show you how I'm going to dissect all these little Echeveria babies off of this plant and pot them up on their own so that they can actually grow bigger. I did decide this needs some help because it has been severely underwatered. I'm pretty sure the stem in the middle is totally dried up, and I don't think these babies are getting any water. If we open up this plant in the Succulent Tracker app, you can see it was last watered 28 days ago, average watering every 14 days. So it's gone a really long period of time without water. And typically with babies like this, I actually recommend watering a little bit more frequently so that they grow faster. But I did not follow my own advice in this case. So here's the interesting thing. This plant has constantly been in a struggle. So it used to be a large arrangement like this, and it didn't do super well. You can see kind of the progression of it. This plant right there is the one that was left, and I actually beheaded it, and you can see here it's starting to get some new babies on it. So after I beheaded it, I repotted it all on its own. Still taking some time. There we go. All on its own. And the babies were starting to get bigger. But as you can see, this was more than a year ago. So I'm recording this in July of 2024. So almost a year and a half ago, it's about the same size as it is right now. This also goes to show that if you want your succulents to stay the same size, just water them very infrequently, and they'll still stay alive. But like I said, they're just not going to grow very fast. So they did get a little bit bigger, but since then they have really regressed. So let's pull these apart and help them grow bigger. The first thing I'm going to do is actually uproot the whole thing. I'm just going to really gently pull. I don't know if you heard that kind of break. There's another one. As I suspected, the stem here is really dried up. I think it actually rotted at one point in time and then dried up, and because I stopped watering it because it rotted, it's really got no way for these babies to get water. They're starting to put out little aerial roots of their own, so let's help them out. My first attempt here is I just kind of want to gently see if I can break anything off, because I'm less likely to damage things that way. If I go in with my pruning shears, even though they're little, I'm worried that I might cut into one of the other plants. So for now, I just want to kind of, like I said, just gently push around and see what rosettes will come off. A lot. I think I'm not even going to need the scissors for this one. This is probably the biggest of all of them. And then there's one more. I'm going to pull off these lower leaves that are all dried up and just try and leave anything that looks remotely healthy. Oh, except I pulled that root off. These are tiny. Like, everything about this is not something I would normally recommend doing. I like to work with babies when they're larger, when they're at least this size, if not double or triple that size. They just have a higher likelihood of surviving on their own the bigger they are. So what I'm going to do after I get all these cleaned up is I am going to plant them back on this pot, but I'm going to do a layer of coconut coir. It's more organic, it holds water longer than the gritty mix. And I am also going to put on worm castings, which will act as kind of a fertilizer. And I'm hoping it will help these root even faster. The nice thing about worm castings is they actually stay wet a lot longer than traditional soil. Because these are so underwatered and they need new roots, the worm castings staying wet longer on top of the coconut coir should help them put off a good, healthy root system. And by the time the roots get deep, they'll just be down in the gritty mix. And so it'll work really well with the soak and dry method. Initially, my watering schedule will be pretty frequent. I want to keep the top of the soil damp, which shouldn't be difficult with the worm castings. Like I said, they do stay wet longer, so I'll probably only have to water it every couple of days. All right, just realized I put those all off screen so you can't see them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 itty bitty rosettes. All right, so I'm just going to scoop up a little bit of this coconut coir, put it right on top here. Now I am going to add worm castings. I really like this brand, the Dirt Club. Their worm castings are very high quality. They make sure that it's just worm castings that you're getting in here, not any of the other decomposed material. And I've used it on a number of my other succulents, and it has worked really well to help them grow. So I just need a really light, thin layer of the worm castings on top of the coconut coir there. And then I'm going to set these down inside. The nice thing about working with the coir and the worm castings is the soil is super soft, so it's really easy to just set these down in, even though they only have teeny tiny little stems. And there we have our itty bitty little succulents all planted up. I'm going to go ahead and water these now. I didn't really do anything that I feel like would cause harm to the plant or cause problems with water touching the stems or roots right away. They didn't really have a lot of roots. And normally with fully grown rooted succulents, I recommend using the soak and dry method. So you're getting the soil wet all the way through to the center. In this case, since these don't have deep stems, they don't have deep roots, I really just need to get the top wet, but I do want to make sure it is completely soaked, that top layer, so that these have plenty of water to soak up and encourage new roots to grow. And of course, since I want to document what is happening with this, I'm going to go ahead and add a new photo of this to the Succulent Tracker app. And now that the new photo is in, I'm also going to record what I did. So I'm going to mark this as repotted and then type a description of what I've done. Then I'm going to go ahead and mark that I have watered it today. This will go back to its shelf where it gets about 12 hours of bright grow lights throughout the day, and I'm really hoping to see some improvement and growth over the next few weeks.